Good morning, welcome back. It's time for a new story. Who's ready? Time for Hansel and Gretel. So this was another one from my childhood. And you can see they're kind of like those puppets like you see if you ever watched at Christmas time, The Year Without a Santa Claus, or Santa Claus is Coming to Town, or Rudolph. So it's similar, and that's probably why I liked them, because it looked like, plus I don't know if you can tell, but when you turn it, it kind of has that three-dimensional quality on the picture. And I was always impressed as a child. So anyway, Hansel and Gretel. In a humble cottage in a forest, there lived a poor wood chopper with his wife and two children, Hansel and Gretel. There was little enough to eat at the best of times, but at the last, the day came when there was not a scrap of food to share among them. That night the children had gone to bed, and the wood chopper said, "What will become of us? How shall we live without food?" Then his wife, who had a hard heart, replied, "Tomorrow we'll take the children into the deepest woods and leave them. At least we'll have 2 less mouths to feed." Now the children, who had not yet gone to sleep because they were hungry, heard what the wife had said. Gretel began to weep and said, "Dear Hansel, what will become of us?" Hansel tried to comfort his sister. "Don't be afraid," he said. "I have a plan so that we can find our way back home after they leave us." So there's the dad upset, and the mean old, I'm assuming maybe it's a stepmother. I don't know. Didn't say their mother, just said his wife. And there's the children in bed trying to figure out what's going on. Early the next morning, the children were awakened. "Come," said the mother. "We must all go into the woods to find food." Hansel had a crust of old stale bread that he had found in a corner, and breaking off tiny crumbs, he dropped them along the path so they might find their way home again. Then, when they reached the deepest part of the forest, the mother told the children to lie down to rest. Then, while Hansel and Gretel dozed in the warm sunlight, she and her husband went back through the forest to the cottage. So there they are, and there's the breadcrumbs that Hansel's leaving, and there they are going into the deep, dark part of the forest. The very tired, hungry children were soon fast asleep, and then night came, and their guardian angels hovered over them to see that no harm would come to them. In the morning, when they awoke, Hansel went to look for the trail of breadcrumbs, but alas, the forest birds had eaten every one. Hansel and Gretel wandered this way and that into the woods, looking for berries to eat. Ah, there they are sleeping, and there's their guardian angels watching over them. Did you know that we each have guardian angels that watches over us? Every single one of us has a guardian angel that watches over us. It says in the Bible that children's guardian angels stand before the throne of God and plead for them all the time. So just know that you do have guardian angels watching over you. Suddenly, what should they see in the clearing but a tiny house made of gingerbread, cakes, and candies? Joyously, they rushed up to the house and began to eat whatever they could break off. But at that moment, an old woman appeared. She smiled kindly, in a manner, and invited Hansel and Gretel into her house for a proper meal. Such food they had to eat. The children ate until they could hold no more. Then the woman tucked them tenderly into bed. Goodness, look at that. I'm sure when they're hungry, it looks even better. Kind of looks like those gingerbread houses at Christmas time. Now, it was so happened that this old woman was a witch, and she had planned to fatten up Hansel and Gretel so that she might eat them. The next morning, she awakened the children with a rough shake and dragged Hansel off to a cage and locked him up. And she made Gretel do all the housework and cooking. Poor Gretel wept, but it was no use. Each day, the best food she cooked was served to Hansel because the witch decided she wanted him nice and fat before she ate him. Goodness, sounds terrible. So there is poor Gretel doing all the work. The children soon discovered that the old witch could not see very well, and each time she came to Hansel's cage, she demanded to feel his fingers so she could tell how fat he was getting. Hansel held out a skinny little bone. The witch, thinking it was his finger, would go away, saying, "I'll have to wait a few more days. He's still much too thin." And at last she could wait no longer. She ordered Gretel to make the fire good and hot so that she could prepare her feast. Goodness, there they are. There's poor Hansel in the cage. See her keys? Terrible witch person. Terrible. With a sad heart, the little girl started a hot fire in the oven. When the witch bustled into the kitchen demanding to know how the fire was coming along, "I cannot tell," said Gretel. "I have never made such a fire before." "Out of my way, foolish girl," said the witch. "I will see for myself." And she opened the door and bent forward to look. In that instant, Gretel gave the wicked witch a push, and into the fire she tumbled. And Greta quickly shut the heavy door, and the child ran to free her brother. Smart girl, Gretel. Look at that. shoving that nasty witch into the fire. Oh, what a time they had going through the witch's house. Everywhere they found chests of jewels and bags of gold. And after stuffing their pockets with all they could hold, the girls fled forever from the house of the wicked witch. Wow, look at all that treasure. Even looks like almost like a genie's bottle. They presently came to a great lake, and seeing no way to cross, the children despaired of ever getting home. But soon a white swan appeared and offered to carry them across the lake on his back. When they arrived on the other shore, there should be cutting wood, but their father. He was overjoyed to see his beloved children again, and the children lost no time in showing him the treasures they had found from the witch's house. After thanking the swan for his help, Hansel and Gretel and the woodchopper returned to live happily once more in their cottage in the woods. And there they are with the beautiful swan and reunited with their dad. So now with all the jewels and treasures, they have food. I would say if he wanted to live happily ever after, he probably should get rid of that mean wife that wanted to kill the children in the first place. Anyway, so yep, that was a story from the childhood, which when I was a child, I don't know if I paid attention to it as much as far as the story goes, so much as I just liked all the pictures. But now as an adult reading it, it's like, wow, I have a lot of questions. It just seems kind of silly. Anyway, if there's other stories you'd like to hear, just let me know. And if you like my channel, please follow, subscribe, give a thumbs up or a comment, say hello, I'll give a shout out and say hi. Thank you for joining me today.